We're normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
It's time for Side Scrollers with me, Stuttering Craig. You decide when you lose, not other people. And Blabs.
I like pickles.
And co-hosted by our friends from around the internet. If you like common sense, hit that thumbs up button and, of course, the subscribe button. And join us Monday through Friday live at 11 a.m. Central Time. And now, broadcasting from our homes, it's time for the #1 gaming and entertainment podcast on God's green earth. It's time for Side Scrollers.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What the heck is that? Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on to Side Scrollers on YouTube.com and Rumble.com and SideScrollers.locals.com. Hi, everybody. I'm Stuttering Craig Wayne, off to a great start today as Blabs has the day off. So, as always, chaos will reign. Hello, everybody. Great to see everybody. Joining us today here on this wonderful Friday, guest producing the exceptional Extrazero. How are you, buddy?
Hey, did you say chaos?
That's right. That's what we do. That's what this show is. I set some new things up because we're putting this new bar on the top up there. It has like our website and stuff and all the sorts of great things. And I set things up like so we can do weird things like this and flip around. But whatever. I wasn't smart and set it back.
I kind of felt like we were in like one of those low riders with the hydraulics in there for a second.
Man, just bouncing up and down like crazy.
Yeah,
right? I mean, you ever been in one of those like real life?
I have not. I've seen them at car shows in person, but I've never been like, hey, can I get in there?
You should. Next time you go to a car show, be like, yo, can I get in there? And see what they say. I'm sure it'll go really well.
Did get in a monster truck though.
Oh, yeah?
Monster Jam. I mean, I didn't, not in motion, but they were like, hey, do you want to climb in? I was like, yeah, when else am I going to get in a monster truck?
Okay.
Monster Jam's so much fun.
Dude, Monster Jam is, it's the
WWE of like cars, if you think about it.
Gravedigger, man. Bigfoot. Yeah. What happened to Bigfoot? Where's
Bigfoot still around?
It's a good question.
Yeah, Bigfoot's still around.
All right. Hey, Gothix, lowriders or Bigfoot?
Well, see, I'm biased because I have a family member that has a car in hydraulics and all that, and I've also gone to a monster truck show, and it was very loud. I don't remember anything, but I like them both.
They are loud. I went to one when I was probably 8, 9 years old, and I remember, I just remember being like, "Oh my gosh, it's so loud." I also remember falling asleep.
What
truck show
was it? Was it an indoor or an outdoor arena?
Indoor. It was an indoor.
Okay, so
arena.
I've been to 2 indoor and 1 outdoor, and at the indoor, it's like, man, those gas fumes, man.
Dude, yeah. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe I passed out. I was high. No, I didn't actually. Just go to sleep. Go to sleep, Craig. Gothix, how are you?
I'm good. Nothing new. Just chilling. How are you guys?
And can't complain. These are good. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to be. Listen, we talked about the story when it was hot earlier this week, and there's this trickle of Dr. Disrespect news that keeps coming out, and it keeps getting worse. And all allegedly getting worse, but not allegedly is his life is falling apart based off these allegations. And at least his professional life is. And we continue to talk about it. People are like, I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of talking about it as well. I'm tired of telling everybody about it. But it's kind of what we do here. Our job is to tell you about these things and things and update stories that continue on and actually do some real life journalism, which Extrazero did today. I did as well. And we have updates from our personal experiences, not based off what someone's tweeting, not based off some other website, based off of our due diligence. So we're going to get to that a little bit later on. But we're glad you're here, Gothix. Excited to have you. We can talk about whatever you want today.
Okay.
It'll be great. So I would like to remind everybody, we are live over at rumble.com/sidescrollers. Do us a favor, hit the follow button over there as we continue to grow little by little. Hey, Extrazero, why do we love Rumble?
Well, we love Rumble because they support free speech and they also give more to the creators. So if you're donating over on Rumble, when does that fall out of effect? Their split, the revenue split?
I think I don't know. I have no idea. What are you talking about?
I thought Rumble was giving more of the as far as donations to Rumble. Yeah.
Yeah, I know this. If you're like a paid subscriber over on Rumble, it's a 100 to 0 payout right now.
Yeah.
Like they give you every single cent of it, and that's awesome. But we also love Rumble because it grows organically, which is great. Too. Yes. You can also follow the show over at x.com/sidescrollerpod. You could have found out that Gothix is going to be on the show if you followed us over there. And you can also watch the show, which is great over on X. We also have an Instagram account, don't we, Extrazero?
We do. So if you like memes or just want to keep up with the show in general, go ahead and follow us over on Instagram at Side Scrollers Pod. I believe it's Side Scrollers Pod.
Side Scrollers Podcast. It was stupid when I was setting up the socials. Like X only has a character limit, but not on Instagram. And it's so. Anyways, there you go.
So memes and clips of the show over on Instagram.
That's right. We also have a Kick account, and you can listen to the show over on Apple Podcast or Spotify. And you can find us over at sidescrollerspodcast.com, which will link you over to our locals page, which is a great place to support us over there. If you're new to the show, join us over here on YouTube. Join the 86,000 just normal men looking for common sense in the video game and entertainment space. We'd love for you guys to hit the subscribe button today and join us. Let's do our best to get to 900 likes and, of course, 25 memberships. Now, Gothix, it is June. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but we are wrapping up Pride Month this month.
Oh, thank God.
I
think it'd be over.
Listen, we're almost there. We're almost there. But we do have Pride merchandise. I don't know if you know this.
No, I didn't. No.
Yeah, we do. And it's been a hot seller this year. So make sure you guys go to our store. Link is in the description and pick up your American Pride t-shirt right now. Link is in the description. They've been flying off the shelf. There's $5 off on them to finish up the month. Go pick it up right now. Links in the description. You can also pick up my daughter's Let Us Skateboard t-shirt. For her design, which she gets $5 of every purchase. So go pick it up. Thoughts on the Let Us Skateboard t-shirt there, guys?
I love it. So good.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So we got a lot going on. It's busy. Extrazero, do us a favor. Fill us in on today in video game history.
All right. So today in video game history, we have on June 28th, 2000, Diablo 2. This is like all bangers here. Diablo 2 came out 24 years ago. Spider-Man 2, one of the best superhero games ever released, came out 20 years ago. And 5 years ago, Super Mario Maker 2 came out on the Nintendo Switch. So,
Gothix, you play any of those?
No, actually. I played the first Spider-Man, never played the original Diablo. And I wasn't really into Mario.
I don't know if we can be friends. I'm just kidding. No,
Damn.
I love
I'll
me
play
Mario.
it, but it wasn't like.
I hear that. Well, for me, Mario Maker and Mario Maker 2 are the best. Just the best. They're the best things ever. Because I can play Mario all day long because I'm an old head and I like getting from point A to point B and having things get in my way. It's awesome. But I love Mario and Mario Maker 2. The big difference between Mario Maker 1 and Mario Maker 2 was they added hills. And Mario Maker 2, I was like, oh, all right.
Hell yeah.
You can create hills. So hell yeah, let's go. Well, thank you guys very much for popping in. Hey, I Am the Icarus came in, says Monster Jam, let's go. That's right. Love us some Monster Jam. Kratos came in, says we're watching Side Scrollers 0 today because it's got Extrazero in it. Today's show should be great. Yeah, Blabs is taking a personal day today. She'll be joining us back on Monday, which is great. The Worthy One says, I want to say thank you to Gothix. Your documentary hits home for me as someone who is Black and also thinks outside the box. Much appreciated.
You're very welcome.
The documentary is special.
Glad you like
special. You've done a phenomenal job with that, and it's amazing. So, by the way, last time you were on, you were getting some heat from within the community. How's that gone?
Oh, you mean the Blacks community? Is that okay? Yeah, that. I mean, that's it comes and goes. I think that's just the nature of having an opinion on the internet. Is that you're always going to get some heat, and it doesn't faze me anymore.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, you're just like, okay, whatever. And there's always this, there's always this flood of negativity, right? And it feels overwhelming, and you just don't know what to do. and then after 2 or 3 days, it goes away. And there's a few people who like take it way too seriously and hold on to it way too long. And it is what it is, and they're kind of mentally unhinged, and that's just kind of the way it goes. But for the most part, you know, it's like the ocean, just waves. You get waves of hate, waves of love, and that's the joy of living online in today's society. So, well, you made it. Congratulations, you're okay.
I'm alive. I am breathing.
It's good. It's good. I'm beyond happy that you've made it. Hey, Seth came in and says, I'll never forget when my father let me play Diablo 2 for the first time. He picked some great stuff extra. Well,
hell yeah. Well, technically I didn't pick it, but
that's right. Blab's still having an effect on today's show. Hey, speaking of Blabs isn't here, let's get a little spoiler from Monday. Let's see what we got. Monday. Ooh. Streets of Rage 3. Okay, that's all we're gonna get. That's all we're gonna get right there. She put it up there. Just don't tell Blabs. Don't tell her that we did that. Don't tweet at her and tell her. All right. So look, we do have a lot to talk about today. We got some quick hits. We got listen. I don't know if you know this, Gothix, but Kotaku is looking for a new editor in chief.
I saw that. I was gonna apply.
I did apply, and I'm going to walk you through the process of what it looks like. I'm going to tell you this right now. You have a much better chance of being the EIC than I do, based off their requirements.
I mean,
just gonna throw it out.
Black, so
and a woman.
And a woman.
Yes,
I don't need to know the job. I just, you know.
That's right. And can you identify as neurodivergent?
Listen, I'll identify as whatever you want. If you got a paycheck, let me know.
They're paying between $120,000 and $180,000 to live in New York City.
I am neurodivergent.
Oh. Yeah. But you got to live in New York City. That's the problem.
Oh.
So so that $180,000 is it like in the Midwest, that's great. In New York City, that's the equivalent of like 7 cents. It's great.
Actually, you know what state has the lowest cost of living right now?
North Dakota.
Arkansas.
Arkansas. All right. Nice. Nice. By the way, heavily underrated place to go. Very, very cool. Neighbors of Texas. Been there. Nice. All right. Let's get into it. We got a lot to talk about. It's time for my favorite segment, your favorite segment, everybody in the world's favorite segment. It's time for Hard News. Hard News. All right. It's time to really dig into this today, guys. As you know, it is the last week of June. We are about to get into 4th of July territory, straight up America. We got fireworks, we got hot dogs, we got hamburgers, we got cookouts, we got pools, we got all sorts of fun stuff going on. Gothix, where does 4th of July rank in your list, in your holiday tier list?
Nowhere. But if someone invites me to a barbecue, I'm gonna go.
But outside of that, are you just like, okay, it's a thing?
It's a day.
It's a day.
Just like any other day.
Oh man, do you do any sort of fireworks or anything like that?
No, I don't. It's just any other day, you know.
All right.
Like I said, if someone wants to invite me over and hang out, I'll do it. But
well, I'll tell you what. As I said, food is a big part of the July 4th fun and party. Lots of grills and stuff like that. And Heinz is delivering a very unique sauce to add to your hot dogs and hamburgers and French fries or whatever it is you're going to eat, whatever crap you're going to put in your stomach over the weekend. They are releasing an every sauce that literally combines all of the sauces that they make into one singular sauce, including burger sauce, garlic sauce, aioli sauce, smoky baconaise. I don't even know what that is. Chili sauce, chip sauce, saucy sauce, mayoracha, mayor must, truffle mayo, garlic caramelized onion mayo, curry ketchup, pickle ketchup, and smoky ketchup, all into one singular sauce. I'm sorry. I thought, okay. Your thoughts, Gothix?
I said this before we got on here. They want us fat and dead. That sounds disgusting. And I would pay to watch you do a taste testing.
Ooh, this is like the chip challenge.
Oh man. You know, it's funny. I have this hanging out. Hold on. I have this. I've been holding on to for a little bit. I have this hot sauce challenge that I got at Sam's Club, and so like I thought about doing this, but I'll tell you what, the every sauce. I don't know, man. I thought when it said every sauce, I thought it was gonna be like ketchup, mustard, and mayo, right? But like it says garlic and caramelized onion mayo infused in there. Extrazero, would you try the Heinz extra sauce?
Probably not. I mean, to me, this is like, when you go to like a fast food place and there's always that one guy that has to mix all the flavors at the fountain. They call it, well, I can say it, just the S word for unaliving yourself is what it's colloquially known as.
Oh, yeah.
But, I feel like when you mix all those flavors together, and as somebody I was telling Gothix for the show, I'm aspiring pitmaster, and when it comes to seasoning, too much is too much. So I don't need to try it to know it's going to be nasty.
I thought when it said every sauce, that was my first time reading through the sauces that were put into this. I mean, I thought it was going to be a little more basic. I thought it was going to be like, hey, we combine ketchup and mustard and relish and whatever. But no, they're throwing in. I don't even know what chip sauce is. So, but I will say this. Yeah, that's a good, excellent point. Like at a certain point, though, like this is, I think it's the right color. Just that weird, like gross yellow. It looks like fat going in your body. Anyways, so for those of you who are heading out to July 4th this weekend, make sure you pick up some extra sauce and see how that goes. Anyways, always a fun thing to start with. Okay, let's move on to another quick hit here. This was quite interesting. This is from Disparu over on X. Now, apparently, Netflix, we all know there's always some sort of like the agenda, right? The agenda or the message that's put in content these days, something to sway us, your opinion on, and you have to think a certain way about things. This was interesting. This came from an interview from a late night TV writer, Nicole Conlon, as she was talking about how Netflix apparently employs a woman whose job, her entire job, is to just somehow fit some sort of climate activism into their shows. This is a thing that we need in 2024. Let's check this out.
I met this one woman who works for Netflix, and I'm not blowing up her spot and telling you her name because I don't want any of you freaks out there emailing her your weird pitches. But her job is to look for places in Netflix shows where they can add a little sprinkle of climate stuff. Maybe a character who drives an electric car or orders a veggie burger or whatever. I don't know how much they've actually started implementing that, but it's nice to know that the idea of incorporating more climate stuff into regular storytelling is on Netflix's radar.
Gothix, what are your thoughts on that?
It's stupid. But what this reminds me, like when people say, why do you care when it's mostly like the liberal folks, they'll get mad at the right and say, why do you care if these movies are incorporating these topics in? Well, as you just heard, obviously they're doing it for a reason. Maybe it's because movies and media have a big impact on society at large. Yeah, I mean, that's a terrible role. I'm stupid. I have nothing else to say about it.
Well, to springboard off what you said, how many people do you see on social media today taking fiction and applying it to real life? It's constant. The Handmaid's Tale is a constant one that I see, where they're constantly trying. This is just like a Handmaid's Tale, and they're trying to get people, captivate them through fear. I mean, we recently they were very quiet about it, but that tweet by Greta, where the world was supposed to be unsustainable and end, after 5 years of, you can't have 5 years of this, and here we are perfectly fine. Yeah.
Well, this is not the world has been supposed to end about 14 times over the last decade and a half, and fortunately we're still here. Fortunately, the giant waves haven't taken out all of our cities, and fortunately the sun hasn't hit us yet, which is,
well, it did. We just got northern lights all across the country.
What are you talking about?
When we had the solar flares that were what was it, last month? I can't remember exactly where it happened, but we ended up getting the northern light. You got it from like Texas all the way up to the northeast.
I didn't get it.
It was too cloudy here to see it. So
what's that have to do with?
I'm just saying that the sun technically did hit us a little bit, but that was the extent of it.
Okay. Well, this goes back to people talking about like the message, right? That's the famous thing that Drinker who is it?
Drinker, yeah.
Drinker puts it in his videos, the message, right?
You need the echo effect.
Right. And I got you. Let's see where's my echo effect? Whatever, it doesn't even matter. But the point that Netflix like employs somebody and be like, hey, how about we have them have a veggie burger, or instead of driving a truck, they're in a Tesla, or something along those lines. And keep in mind, this is somebody who works in Hollywood. This is a late night TV writer. And by the way, once again, just listen to what she says. She says, I think it's really great.
I don't know how much they've actually started implementing that, but it's nice to know that the idea of incorporating more climate stuff into regular storytelling is on Netflix's radar.
It's nice to know, by the way. It's really good to know that. Is it really good to know that? How about you just tell us a good story?
Listen, the cap of climate stuff I want in my media is Captain Planet. And that is it. That is my childhood. No more.
Right.
Captain Planet had some wild stories, I'll tell you.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy, man. It was Captain Planet. Was that like super agenda propaganda?
Yes.
For
It probably was. Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It was Ted Turner's way of putting the but it's funny is back then, like we all thought it was just kind of schlocky and dumb, and we liked it for the cheese, not the message.
Yeah.
It's and I'm just doing a quick Google search on Captain Planet propaganda.
Look up the voice cast for it, because it was all like very back then leftist activists. I mean, back before we even had the term leftist, but very left-leaning activist actors that were. It had a very impressive voice cast.
Really, that's so funny. Wow,
yeah.
That's
like Meg Ryan was in it as Dr. Blight. Jeff Goldblum was in it.
Really?
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum was the rat guy.
Oh wow,
What his name was.
No idea. That's crazy.
Who was the voice of Duke Nukem? They had a character called Duke Nukem in it.
Wait, Duke Nukem was in,
but not the Duke Nukem. I think his name was. Somebody in the chat will keep me honest here. But
wow. Okay. All right. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, it was Duke Nukem, and who was his voice? They had to switch the voice. It was Dean Stockwell, from Quantum Leap.
Yes.
Yeah.
I watched him in Beverly Hills Cop 2 last night get shot.
I forgot about that.
I'm watching all the Beverly Hills Cops movies before the new one comes out, July 3rd. So it's going to be on Netflix. I'm excited for that one. Yeah, Gothix, you ever seen the Beverly Hills Cops movies?
I have. I did not know they were making another one.
Yeah, they got Beverly Hills Cops. It's just called. I think it's called like Axel Foley.
Yeah,
it's going to be good. Eddie Murray, the whole thing. It's going to be great. All right, let's move on. Okay, so one of the big pushes we saw earlier this year from Xbox, they said they are establishing a team for game preservation, just dedicated straight to game preservation. This is a big deal, right? Hey, how great is this? We're going to be committing to making sure that the games you play are available for you, dedicated to game preservation and backwards compatibility and future hardware. This is a great stuff. This is good stuff. We have formed a new team dedicated to game preservation, important to all of us at Xbox and the industry itself. All right, let's fast forward just about 2 months as Verizon Forza Horizon 4 to be delisted by the end of the year. Extrazero, you brought this to us. Why don't you go with
so this isn't as bad as The Crew is, but the crux of this is it's due to licensing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think one of the times in the past I was on here, I said that one of the things I think that they need is, like, imagine if like Scarface, for example, people love Scarface. If people are like, oh yeah, we have to delist Scarface because of the soundtrack. Why don't games get that same protection? Or imagine if like the Transformers movies were pulled because GM and Paramount don't have a licensing deal anymore, so we can't re-release this movie. It's silly. I think when you create a piece of media, anything that agrees to be in that media at the time needs to be preserved and protected. And if Microsoft's really committed to games preservation, and they're also working with third parties for licenses to put products and product placement in games, they should be advocating for those same protections that movies have, in my opinion.
Gothix, what are your thoughts on this? The idea of number one, game preservation.
I don't really know what that means. Like, what do you mean game preservation? I'm confused.
Sure. Extrazero, why don't you give her a brief rundown?
So games like movies, you know, regardless of their age, people, and regardless of their popularity, if you bought a product or you're a fan of a product, you know, games preservation talks about people's legal access to a game. In this case, it's being delisted. You'll still be able to download it. If you have to have a physical copy of the game, you can still play it, but anybody moving forward won't be able to purchase or play that game, rather, unless they track down a physical copy or whatnot. So the idea of games preservation is making things available by legal means, whether it's purchasing it or putting it up on an archive site where, okay, hey, we're no longer able to sell it, but you can still access that content. And you know, Microsoft said they were committed to making sure that gamers, gamers today can play games of the past. And that's the whole crux of games preservation, is making stuff available for people regardless of the situation.
I mean, that would be nice, but I don't understand how that would be happening, especially with them moving over to like a model of digital streaming too. It's like, even like the example that I like to use is like Overwatch. How I bought Overwatch 1 and then they changed it into this weird thing that I didn't even buy.
That's
and
part
now
of
I'm
it.
forced to play this. But I don't foresee them being able to do that anyway, because for them there's no monetary incentive to get people to keep buying their new stuff.
It's kind of like, if I can bring it back to like an old school game, right? Like Street Fighter 2, right? So when Street Fighter 2 was released, they had Street Fighter 2 Vanilla, right? It was just called Street Fighter 2. Then they updated it with Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, and that was a separate release.
I thought
right?
Championship Edition was the first.
Yeah, okay. So it's whatever it was, Championship Edition. Then it was Hyper Fighting. Then they added Super Street Fighter 2. Then they had Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Then they had Super Street Fighter 2 Champion. So they had like 7 updates of the original Street Fighter game, right? Of Street Fighter 2. But they were all sold separately. So you can still play them all, right? That'd be like you picked up Overwatch, right? And every time Overwatch was updated, it was a separate release, but you could still go back and play the game that you originally played, right? Instead of having to play the version that was available now. I say that's like, it's one of the positive things about kind of the old school generation of video games, is that every time there was an update, you actually could physically buy it instead of just a download. Because now once you update a game, that previous update is more or less lost forever. It's just saved over, on the servers and everything like that. But and unfortunately, that's the way we'll never be able to go back to the way it was. But I don't know. It's just it's an interesting story to see. In this case, in particular, with Forza Horizon 4 being delisted, coming off of this idea of we want to preserve the games and make sure this is established. There is going to be, like, when you look at the Venn diagram of like original IPs, and then there is, we want to save the game, but the crossover there is that is the licensing, is the music that's associated with it, that there's a Toyota truck or a Ford truck in these games, and you only have those licenses for 5 years or whatever it may be. Whereas if you were to go back and look at a game like Burnout from like the PlayStation 2 era, it was on a physical disc, and you will always have the Toyota or the Dodge Ram or whatever car, because there's no updates available for it. So I
will say there was one game but my first experience with it being in that era was Burnout Paradise, because they completely overhauled Burnout Paradise. And that was a game that was on disc. And they kind of took it from being I wouldn't say it became live service, but it had some elements in it, and they did really switch that game around. And I mean, at the time, people kind of championed it because they were adding a lot of content. But there are people that want that vanilla experience that you're talking about, and going back to that. And on a disc, you can, because you can just uninstall the game and take it offline. But
right. Well, I think it's always fun to kind of see. Like, I'm a big fan of game preservation. I like the idea. I wish that more games would make previous versions of the game available before you get updates. Like we talked about, Street Fighter 4 was brought up in the chat, Street Fighter 5, whatever, where you have these multiple updates. But once these updates happen, you can't go back and play the original version, where maybe a character was pretty broken. That I think of like the original Street Fighter 4, like Sagat was like totally broken in it, and it was super fun to play as him. And then you got an update and you got nerfed, and I love the idea of going back and playing those things. So anyways, let us move on real quick. Mark came in and said piracy is always the safety net and the reason why companies should be motivated to preserve games more efficiently. You can't stop the signal. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that. Hell came in and says, I would be satisfied for now if companies would just release documentation of APIs and network packets so pirate servers could easily be made. But anything with server-side stuff still needs more. Thanks, Hell. Appreciate that. And Darth Wario says game preservation is just code for piracy.
I will say, I do have to shout out Evercade. Have you seen what they're doing?
No. What's going on with Evercade?
Evercade is a company that's been around for a hot minute. They have a cartridge-based system, and they put old school games that they get licenses for, and they put indies out there, and they come out with these little carts, and they have full color not full color manuals in all of them, but they have manuals, and they come in Sega Genesis like boxes, and they have handheld systems that are super affordable. They have TV-based systems, and now they're coming out with a counter, like you know how Arcade 1-Up had the countercades? They're coming out with one of those, and it'll be able to play the cartridges, and they're coming out with a Mega Man and a Street Fighter themed one later this year. So, and these are systems that don't need to be connected to the internet, and they just play off the cartridges. So cool. I like that. I like that exists. They're coming out with a Tomb Raider trilogy one, and I don't think it's going to be like the BS like the console and PC ones had.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, check it out. I am Icarus. Agrees with you. Evercade doing some cool things.
Yeah.
Love that. All right. Speaking of preservation, Extrazero, you wanted to talk about this one today. Now, I have never seen the Brave Little Toaster. Gothix, you ever seen the Brave Little Toaster before?
Yes.
You ever seen it?
So cute.
You like the Brave Little Toaster? I'm familiar with it. Never seen it before. But Extrazero, you want to talk about this?
Oh yeah, so this is really cool. So some fans had a 35 millimeter scan of the Brave Little Toaster, and I'm not sure about the legality of this, but they did a transfer of this for preservation's sake, and they made it available. So there is a site listed in this article. I think it's listed in the article, but Pinhead Razor was the user that did this transfer. And yeah, it's on YouTube, the full movie. I always thought this was tied to Disney, so I didn't look into the rights, but I just think it's cool in general that if studios won't do it, there's people that will. And there's a link at the bottom. You can get the full 4K remaster and watch it on YouTube. I'm sure this also, regardless, it was Disney. So if you want this, I recommend going and ripping it off of YouTube and saving it to a thumb drive or somewhere, or putting it on a cloud drive. But it's just cool that if someone's not doing it, from a studio perspective, someone will. I mean, I kind of agree with what Mark was saying, that piracy is always that safety net, but I get that some people aren't comfortable with that.
What is the story of the Brave Little Toaster? Give me a rundown here.
Imagine Toy Story before Toy Story. It's
Okay.
these appliances, and the appliances are fond of their owner. And if I remember correctly, he's moving, and basically, they're tracking down the boy that used to love them. The family kind of left the house, so it's a little bit different in Toy Story in that regard. It's basically these appliances trying to reunite with their owner.
Okay, all right. Gothix,
It's such a good movie, man. You gotta see it.
Show it to your
Okay.
kids. I'm sure your
Yes.
daughters would love this movie, and if you can watch it for free, I mean, that'd be a good evening.
Stop
Right.
looking up spoilers.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Hey, I'm just gonna go on a limb. I bet they make it.
It's a feel-good movie. It's 90 minutes. You won't be disappointed.
Okay. All right. Well, if you want to find it, just search the Brave Little Toaster full movie 4K on YouTube. You'll find it. It's from a YouTube channel called Venny, Venny. There you go. All right. Let us move on. Okay. So Concord. Have you guys heard about this game? Concord.
I definitely have.
Yeah.
You've heard about this, Gothix?
Yes.
What do you on first thoughts, what's your first thought about Concord?
I thought it looked cool.
Okay.
But there was also a part of me that says I don't think this is gonna stick because it's in a way something that we've already seen. It just looks nice, but I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted about it.
Okay, so the Concord beta has been announced for this, and this is the game that kind of made waves when it was kind of like Diversity the game, right? Where when you saw the character selection of this, they kind of put it, it's meant to be, if I recall, it's like a 5v5 shooter. Is this right? Like a 5v5, like kind of Overwatch style. But the character select screen of this was, it had all sorts of like real interesting characters, like this really nice overweight like character, kind of ambiguous, with pronouns that's a he, him. Oh,
Yeah.
I legit thought that was a girl.
You're a bigot.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought that was a girl. But anyways, that's Daw. But that's like a great example of like kind of what you're looking at here, right? But the irony of all this is that they're going to monetize exclusively through cosmetics, right? In this game to make your characters look better. So you're going to start with a character that's very ambiguous here. And you're going to make this character Daw look cooler through cosmetics. Number one, do you think there will be a market for this game for $40? And then number two, do you think that, this game may actually do gangbusters because the characters are kind of ugly to start with. So buying cosmetics for the game may be the lifesaver to make this look awesome. I don't know, like just general thought. Extrazero, let's start with you really quick.
So I put something in the private chat. There was a game that came out in the launch window of the PlayStation 5 that I played. It was originally supposed to be a launch release game, and it ended up coming out in February of 2021. It was called Destruction All-Stars. And it was a game that leaned heavily into diversity. And they didn't use pronouns at the time, but they had a non-binary character. They had an amputee character. They ticked all the boxes. And that game couldn't find an audience, and it went free to play real quick. In fact, right there, you can see it's included in your PlayStation Plus extra account if you have that.
You played this game?
I have. I thought the mechanics were pretty decent, but it just didn't. It never had a good enough player base to stick around. It was a cool concept because you could get in and out of vehicles and keep your character alive. It could have been decent, but Sony did very little to promote it, and people were just like, on the aesthetics, and they definitely put they had very unappealing character designs, and they put that ahead of everything else.
Okay. So and it ultimately failed. So you saying it was a
they
paid
didn't
game
learn their lesson from this.
Right.
At the height of the PlayStation being scarce, you would think that this would have been a game that especially being a first party game and a lower price title. Because again, you got to remember when PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X came out, that was when that was the advent of the $70 game.
Mm-hmm.
And so they launched this, I believe, at $40 as a budget title and an online game, and it really used the features of the DualSense controller with the haptic or the haptics and the feedback triggers, and they still couldn't find an audience or market this game. And I think Concord's the same. And again, to kind of cut to like what they're doing with the pre-orders for Concord, 5 keys for 1 pre-order.
Yeah, that's the other thing is they're definitely looking to boost it, and that's the other little bullet point to this headline is that if you were to buy this game, you essentially get 5 additional copies to share with your friends.
Yes. Yeah.
Sounds like desperation.
It's very desperate. I mean, I kind of think the best thing that they could do at this point, instead of making people pre-order, be like, look, guys, we stand by our product. We stand by the gameplay. We're going to make it a public beta so people can test the game off of its own merits and mechanics. And again, this game, Destruction All-Stars, had good mechanics in my opinion, but it just they made it very unappealing. I mean, I feel like we're kind of in the stage of gaming that we were in the 90s, where there were so many copycats of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and a lot of them had very unappealing character designs. And again, the first Mortal Kombat, I don't think had the best mechanics, but you played that game and it had pizzazz. It had, the aesthetics of the game really sold it more than the gameplay. It was edgy, it was hip, it was cool.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, this is I've never heard of a game where when you buy it, you get free copies to give away.
It's not free copies. It's just the pre-order. So if you pre-order the game, you get five keys total for the beta. That's how desperate they are to get people to try it out. I'm at this point. That's why I ask, if you're that desperate, just make it available to everybody on PlayStation to test.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. That just seems so bizarre to me.
I think what they want is for the few people that are actually hyped for the game to go to their friends, be like, guys, I got 4 of these. You got to play with me, and that's why they're locking it behind pre-orders. That's what my speculation is.
Well, sure, but I mean,
So Straight Shot said there is going to be an open beta, and there's an open beta and a closed beta, but yeah. I haven't seen anything on that open beta.
Well, that's crazy. That's if you're gonna have an open beta, then why offer a pre-order with additional keys to a open beta?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, Concord looking like it's struggling out the gate before it even gets to the gate. It's maybe the horse that needs to be taken out to the back and shot before it reaches the starting line. We'll see. All right, let's move on to let's go to this from Tractor Supply. Not necessarily in the gaming space, but does have to do with the kind of the pushback that we see with the kind of culture and everything here. Gothix, did you see what was going on with Tractor Supply over the last couple months?
I don't know what happened. I saw their message, but I don't know anything that led up to that.
So the big TLDR is it was pushed out that Tractor Supply had, which once again, Tractor Supply, the whole idea behind Tractor Supply is they want to serve people who life out here. So people out farmers and people who don't live in the city, right? And Tractor Supply was exposed for having really big DEI initiatives. They were funding and sponsoring Pride stuff. They had a DEI officer, and so then word gets out about this, and doing all this stuff, and there's blowback to the point of they lost $2 billion in market cap. So a $2 billion loss will bring us this response that came out just yesterday from Tractor Supply. It says, for more than 85 years, Tractor Supply has been focused on one thing, serving life out here. Every day, our 50,000 team members take care of our customers like family. We deeply value our relationship with our customers and the communities we call home. We are passionate about being good neighbors in our hometowns because without you, we would not be where we are. We would not be what we are. It is imperative to us that our customers' hard-earned dollars are taking care of our team members and our communities we all love. As you supported us, we have invested millions of dollars in veteran causes, emergency response, animal shelters, state fairs, rodeos, and farmers markets. We have also invested in the future of rural America. We are the largest supporter of FFA and have long-standing relationships with 4-H and other educational organizations. We worked hard to live up to our mission and values every day and represent the values of the communities and customers we serve. We have heard from our customers that we have disappointed them. We have taken this feedback to heart. Going forward, we will ensure our activities and given tie directly into our business. For instance, this means we will, number one, no longer submit data to the Human Rights Campaign. 2, refocus our team member engagement groups on mentoring, networking, and supporting the business. 3, further focus on rural American priorities, including ag education, animal welfare, veteran causes, and being a good neighbor, and stop sponsoring non-business activities like pride festivals and voting campaigns. Eliminate DEI roles and retire our current DEI goals while still ensuring a respectful environment. Withdraw our carbon emission goals and focus on our land and water conservation efforts. We will continue to listen to our customers and team members. Your trust and confidence is in us are the utmost importance, and we don't take it lightly. So that's pretty much it. So it sounds like the customers have they have spoken, and Tractor Supply has listened, saying, "Okay, I think we're gonna pack it up when it comes to this." Gothix, your thoughts?
I mean, that's pretty, that says a lot, because usually when I see companies cave in to the mob of the online activists or boycotts or whatever, they're not specific about what it is they're doing. They might just like quietly just stop doing stuff, but they never really give full specifics. So I think that's really cool of them to do, but I don't know. Like I also, in my mind, sometimes I'm conflicted with the idea of people forcing a company to change their beliefs or whatever, you know, like I'm one of those that think that if a company wants to do whatever and lose money in the process, you know, then do it. That's your choice, however you want to run your business. But it sounds like they're going where the money is, and the money, their customer base doesn't support that stuff anyway. So, I mean, it's cool. I mean, yeah.
I think at the end of the day, when you lose $2 billion, like it's probably, just as a business, you're probably like, okay, we should probably not do that and listen to what our customers are telling us. You know, just throwing it out there. Extrazero, your thoughts?
Yeah, this resonates with me pretty deeply. Prior to the show, I was telling you, so, you know, I'm not going to say where I worked, but I was a higher up at a company, and yesterday was my last day. And a big portion of the reason why I left was this sort of stuff and the politics behind it and making it a very uncomfortable workplace. And this resonates with me because the company's taking a public stance, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the transparency. But, you know, as somebody and again, I was in this job for 9 years. I was in good standing. I left in good standing. And I just couldn't take the direction the company was going in anymore, among other things. To tie it back into gaming a little bit, we saw what happened with Black Myth Wukong, and I've seen the landscape of my career change in the past 9 years. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how much of this is a racket. I know it's a racket, and I wonder how the extent that companies are extorted. And while this is cool that Tractor Supply identifies this is hurting their bottom dollar, and they see that this is a problem, they see it's unpopular with things. What about the next thing? How do we prevent these rackets from coming into companies and impacting their values and impacting the values of their customer? I do agree with Gothix. I think if a company has a stance, like Chick-fil-A has a stance or had a stance that was, you know, unpopular with even some of their customers, but that was their stance, and they have every right to hold it, just as Ben & Jerry's has their stance. And Ben & Jerry's, whether you like them or hate them, I don't like them, they have every right to have their stance, because that's the you know, the principles of their founders. And that, you know, Ben and Jerry, the men, have always held those very left-leaning principles. It's their right to have them. But how do we prevent outsiders from coming in and extorting or manipulating or changing these things? And I think that's the bigger discussion that nobody's having. Right.
Well, I mean, these things do get implemented, and I think they may just be following the current thing, and it's like, oh, this would be a really good idea to do. You know, this business did it. We got to take the initiative, and maybe there's some financial incentive behind it. But I think ultimately, can that financial incentive, you know, outweigh the $2 billion lost? And ultimately, as a business, money does talk. Customers do talk, right? Which there we go. Speaking of companies that have been lit on fire, as we move on, let's talk about Kotaku for a minute. This is the Gothix. What are your overall impressions of Kotaku?
Junk. Throw it away.
just right to the trash.
Just get it out of here. I don't know. I can't take them seriously.
Have you always felt that way, or has that just been a recent
No, like I think I remember, if I think back to when I first heard of Kotaku, I would actually go on there and said, oh, okay, journalism. Maybe I was still asleep. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But right now, it just seems like activism, just masquerading as journalism. It's just a very biased platform, and I think it's junk.
think it's junk. Well, I'll tell you what. They've been under fire. They nearly were shut down. The guide. There was the whole meme of like they got to go in and they were going to shut the news down, and they got like one last chance to kind of make progress. They clearly haven't. Otherwise, they're going to be making like 50 guides a week. Right? That was the idea. 50 guides a week. Well, I think they're starting to make that move, and they realize that the activism route is not going to work very well. We talked about this briefly yesterday, but I did want to follow up on this. Smash JT found this yesterday, that they are actually hiring an editor-in-chief for Kotaku. And this is really interesting because when you actually go to the job listing, and I did a video about this yesterday, but I just want to kind of compound this. If you want to learn more about my journey on this, you can. You can find it on the channel as a standalone video. But here's the thing. Now, Gothix, you said pre-show, I believe, that you're like, I thought about applying for it. Would you really apply to be the Kotaku editor-in-chief?
I mean, yes, I would. I don't have any qualifications being an editor. I have no knowledge of journalism, nothing. I am black, I am woman, and that means I pretty much own the company, so you might as well hire me.
Okay, so here's the thing. I do have a background in journalism. I do have everything that they're asking for, but I am not black and I am not woman. So I actually think that you have a better opportunity of getting this position than I do currently.
Yeah.
So
I'll apply.
You should, because I did apply. I legitimately went through and went through I legitimately updated my resume. I went in and I did the entire process and applied to be editor-in-chief at Kotaku. Now, this is in New York. It is a full-time position. One of the things that they talk about in this is, by the way, every single qualification here, I have 7+ years of editorial experience, blah, 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 blah. So I went in and I applied for this, and it's pretty amazing to kind of see there are some very distinct contradictions in their hiring process here. Number one, they have a vaccination policy, which I believe have been since the idea that you have to be vaccinated to work at Gawker and Kotaku is amazing to me in 2024. And I correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought those were deemed like unconstitutional at this point. I believe maybe I missed something there.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm trying to think. I thought that they were. I thought because it was the OSHA requirements, but I think that certain companies can still do it because of. Is New York a right to work state?
I don't think New York is I know Texas is, but I don't know. Yeah. But either way, they said Geo Media is deeply committed to fostering a transparently inclusive workplace environment, and people of color, women, people with disabilities, veterans, and LGBTQIA+ candidates are very strongly encouraged to apply. Our company-wide mission is to reach a very diverse audience, so we are deeply committed to having teams and leaders that reflect this mission. So, as I said, the only thing that I could potentially is when it comes to all these people of color, women, people with disabilities. Neurodivergent isn't really a thing, so I could technically say that I'm neurodivergent, which I did on my application. I'm not a veteran, I'm not a woman, and I'm not a person of color. So I got to be honest. I think I'm out of the running on this, just personally. But they do go on to later say that there's equal employment opportunity, and that they prohibit discrimination or harassment of any type without regard to race, color, religion, age, sex, national origin, blah 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 blah. So they're saying, hey, do this if you're this, but we're not going to have any sort of discrimination if you are. So kind of funny. I also found it extremely problematic that as you scroll down and they ask you, like, once again, these things don't even matter here, but they ask you about your your gender here, and here for such an inclusive company, they only have 2 options, which is just absolutely upsetting.
Yeah,
Oh,
isn't that funny?
you can't. Can you see the drop down on the
I
screen?
can.
You
Well,
can.
when you click on it, nothing comes up. If you
Okay,
are
but-
clicking
What
on
does it say?
It only has female and male.
What?
So, yeah. I mean, it's really
Hey,
problematic.
under ethnicity, does it have mixed race at all, or is it just?
So under ethnicity, which apparently this drop down you can't see it or whatever, but so when I click on it, it says there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, it says decline to answer, Hispanic or Latino, white, comma, not Hispanic or Latino. Then it has
Funny.
black or African American, not Hispanic or Latino. These are a lot of qualifiers here. There is Asian, comma, not Hispanic or Latino. Then there's Native American or other Pacific Islander, comma, not Hispanic or Latino. They really are.
So I could only pick decline to answer. That's fun.
But then there's American Indian or Alaskan Native, comma, not Hispanic or Latino. And then there's 2 or more races, comma, not Hispanic or Latino. What do they have against the?
That's the funny thing is I could only pick decline to answer in that, which is funny. There's no mixed race, that includes Hispanic or Latino. That's funny to me.
Wow.
Was there any drop down for sexual orientation?
I do not believe they ask you where you put your privates.
That's
No.
surprising. My husband, when he was applying for jobs, he had a few applications where they asked that.
Like what does that even matter? Like how do you where do you put your privates? How do you like that? It's just like what a weird thing to ask. They do ask your GPA and your college and your highest level of education, et cetera, et cetera. They do ask who referred you to the position, which is pretty natural. They do ask you your preferred pronouns as well, which I failed to put in, which I think will ultimately be a detracting point for me. So, but I did apply. I did apply to this. I did receive an email saying that they have received everything, and it's coming along. It's coming along. Well, I'm not, we can only hope that that Kotaku brings. Because I'll tell you this right now: if I was brought in to be editor-in-chief of Kotaku, I'm lighting the place on fire. I'm firing everybody, and that's what needs to happen, right? But I think that if I was named editor-in-chief of Kotaku, here's why it makes sense. Let me tell you why. Because if I'm hired, the staff revolts and they quit. So the staff quits, so they don't need to pay any severance. So I'm saving them money right off the bat, right? Saving them money right off the bat because I don't align with anything that they throw it. So I'm making them money immediately. I'm getting all the staff out of there without even having to walk through the door. But even what's that? Day 1,
You change it to Craig Taku.
No, it's Kotaku with stuttering Craig. That's no. But I think it would be like that's what needs to happen. Like legitimately, you need to break things before you can fix it, and that's what needs to happen with Kotaku for sure. For sure. Vigor says, please say Alyssa McConte referred you. I should probably tag her and let her know that I'm coming for her. Unlike on her, like her other positions. Anyways, let's move on. Speaking of weird things happening, let's go to this Dr. Disrespect story. All right, Gothix, you've been following this story. Why don't you give us your thoughts on the overall Dr. Disrespect story?
I don't know if people want my thoughts because I would say maybe like 2% of the internet actually likes my thoughts.
Okay, this will be great then. Let's see.
You sure? Okay, here are my thoughts.
Okay.
Let me preface by saying that everyone is entitled to feel upset about people doing things that are bad. That's not my argument. My argument is I find it a little bit peculiar that people are so outraged about something that happened, 7 years ago? And between that time, no one's bothering to ask questions of, has he changed? Has he matured? has him and his family moved on? And what have I personally done in this time, like in this span? And the reason why that's really the big thing that I have an issue with is like the whole displaced online vigilantism, whether it comes from the left or the right. I think overall it's a giant distraction from our own faults. And I'm a Christian. I believe there's a moral code, an objective moral code. But I think the majority of people who engage in sort of this online vigilantism are all following their own moral code. So then they get to say, well, I mean, I'm bad, but I'm not as bad as him. And okay, fair enough. But that doesn't, you going after someone for something that they did 7 years ago isn't going to undo what he did, nor is it going to undo what you've done. I just find it, majority of it, outrage just for no reason. People are bored. And like, I get it. You were talking about this earlier. You're a content creator. I get that it's people's jobs to report on the news. That's not what I'm arguing. But I think your average person getting upset about it, I just think they're bored.
I think there's an element to that for sure. I think in our situation, it's important to remember that, okay, this started with allegations, right? There was allegations that happened that were thrown out by the Twitch, the old Twitch employee, right? And then Doc came out with a statement, and we talked about this at length, and people say, well, we still need proof, right? Well, the proof was Doc saying what he said, right? And the word that has always stuck with me is the minor aspect of it, right? This is a minor. If he did everything that he did, great, do it. It's your private life. It's not my business. When it comes to the minor aspect of it, that's where things like, as a father, really rub me the wrong way. And I think for most people, like I've never really watched Doc. I'm aware of Doc, right? Obviously, you have to be aware of everything. But I mean, in my entire life, I probably watched less than 10 minutes of his content, right? But I know that his production value is phenomenal. I know that he has a legion of fans, or had, and probably, he will still have a legion of fans. And I think that the word that I think most people can use to describe this is probably just disappointment, right? I wouldn't say outrage. I would say most people are just disappointed. I think disappointed in the idea that they feel like they knew this person, even though they didn't. But you feel like you know this person. And then when something like this happens, it's like a friend. You're like finding out something about a friend happened, and you go, oh God, and the pit of your stomach kind of drops, and you feel disappointed, right? Yeah, and there are people who put it on like performative outrage and blah 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 blah. And like, I get it, right? And if what he is saying is true, and if there are more layers to this that people say are there, then it's, as I said, if he was talking to a minor in that way, I got no time for that. I don't, right? And whether it's Doc disrespect or your local pervo down the street, right? And we talked about this on. There's a much larger issue here, right? And it's Twitch as a platform, right? This whole thing originated on Twitch, and I said this yesterday on the show, and I'll repeat this one more time, just for the point of transparency, right? If you don't think, not you Gothix, but just in general, if you don't think that right now, as we're talking, there is some weird creepo trying to talk to some young kid on Twitch, literally right now, then we're all just ignorant to the situation, right? That's 100% happening right here. Like, just call me like a cancel pig, right? Like, I'm not canceling anybody, right? I don't have any control over what Doc's contracts look like or his relationships, right? Just because I'm disappointed doesn't mean I think he should lose his life. With that said, he's the one who's saying he did these things, not me. Gothix?
I was gonna ask, did it come out what the age of this person was?
17.
No. 17?
No, I don't think that's been official yet.
It hasn't been well. I'd heard rumblings that the person was.
Well,
that he was talking to was 17.
Here's the other aspect about what I talk about, like displaced vigilantism, is that, okay, if this person was 17, Are we neglecting to look at the fact that some states have certain ages of consent?
But you need parental consent with that, I thought.
I'm not sure about the specifics with each state, but like let's just say for the sake of the argument that we do have certain states with age of consent laws. So if the argument is, well, I still think it's gross, okay, fair enough, but then it turns into like a moral argument again. And like as you said, I think and I agree with you. A lot of people might be disappointed because the person that they idolize online is doing something that they think is morally wrong. Fair enough. But I also think, okay, what is the step forward? I believe in redemption. I believe in forgiveness. Doesn't matter what they've done. That could be very jarring to some people, but from the outwards perspective, once you operate on a worldview that recognizes that everyone has contributed to the disgust that is the world around us, it becomes a lot easier to extend grace and forgiveness to someone instead of saying, well, I'm going to write them off and throw them in the wood chipper. I'm not for that bandwagon of just throwing everyone into the wood chipper because you're not actually fixing the problem. So again, that's really my stance. It's like, okay, fine, be mad, but I just don't see what that's achieving. Like all of the online, like him getting demonetized and getting banned. What's that going to do? Like that doesn't do anything.
Well, that's kind of where it's at right now. Now, between yesterday's show and the start of today, a new article has been dropped by Rolling Stone, right? And here's kind of the big question from yesterday was, number one, did he know that the minor, and once again, I always want to preface this, replace the word minor with child. And that's my stance on this, because that's minor is another term, right, for child, because that's really what it is, right? You have adult, you have children, and now there's a lot. My journalist hat is being put on here, and I'm saying like, I always fly up a red flag when there's an anonymous source, right? The anonymous source said this, right? That always to me is like, right? But there was, but it is worth talking about, right? When it comes to this, and this isn't speculation. We're simply reading an article, right? So there's an article by the guy Slasher, and Slasher was the guy who 4 years ago in 2020 was like, hey, I know what happened, but I'm not going to say because it's like a real sensitive situation. Slasher came out with his article for Rolling Stone, and in that article, it said several key points here. Number one, he sent sexually graphic messages to a minor he knew to be underage, right? He was made aware of the individual being underage and indicated that it wasn't a problem. And number three, he was not offered a contract at YouTube due to the circumstances of his Twitch ban, which YouTube was informed about. So the way this is presented is he's sending these messages. Somebody at Twitch gets a hold of him and says, yo, dog, like this is a kid, this is a minor. And his response was, that's cool. I'm not worried about it. Right. That's where things are like, man, I don't, like I can't get behind that. Like personally, you see the response from folks like, Vera Dark, who we had on the show. She says, indefensible, disgusting behavior across the board. He knew they were a minor, and he indicated it wasn't a problem and continued on. This was the last question that was truly on my mind. He thought he was untouchable and could get away with anything, but there's no other low this guy could reach, right? And I think for, once again, this is all based off of, we're talking about the anonymous source, right? We're also talking about Rolling Stone, right? It's, once again, just worth talking about it. Now, let's actually take a step back. And the other key point in there is that he wasn't offered something by YouTube, a contract from YouTube after he left Twitch, based off of YouTube being aware of all this. Now, it goes in, and there is talk of, where is it at? I want to make sure I have this correctly. So Ryan Wyatt was the former head of gaming, global head of gaming at Google at the time. And in that, he actually confirmed that they knew about it. He was not offered a contract due to chatter around the circumstances of his Twitch ban. He says that a Twitch employee and journalist investigating the incidents told YouTube employees that it involved inappropriate messages to a minor. He actually came out, and Ryan Wyatt came out and commented on this. I'm trying to pull that up while we have it. But he's like, yeah, we were made aware of it. And it was more or less they had heard a number of rumors, which is why they didn't offer any promotion, didn't offer a contract, anything along those lines. Hey, that's kind of where it's at right now. So he continued on YouTube and saw like tremendous success. But once again, we're talking about sources, right? Unnamed sources. I don't know, Gothix, what are your thoughts on the idea of like the unnamed source, the anonymous source when it comes to this stuff? Is there any credibility for this to you, or is this more like, I don't know?
No, this is what I'll say. You can never underestimate the lengths that someone will go to villainize someone that they hate. And let's be honest about what it is we're talking about. Rolling Stone, Twitch, very progressive platforms. And Doc does not have the most progressive opinions. Does that negate what he allegedly did? No. But I would be cautious than to put all of my eggs in one basket to trust a platform that notoriously, its people who work for the platform have a history of just bending truths to villainize people that they don't like. I mean, it happened to me, like, on my documentary. So only God knows. We don't know. Every other person on here, as much as we want to think that we're so informed about the situation, we are still getting that information from a third party who may or may not be lying to us. So we really don't know. So regardless of, like I said, of what he has done or did, or whether he's matured or whatever, ultimately, I forgive, even though really I have no involvement in it. But that's my position, is I believe people can change, and that's it.
Right. And then Extrazero, your keyboard is loud.
Oh, sorry. Trying back to the chat, but
sure. No worries. Well,
I have thoughts on this, and I agree with Gothix, but I agree to disagree on a lot of stuff. I keep seeing people saying like 17, 17's not bad. 17's not bad. It's like, look, there's a pattern of behavior with this guy. I think it's worth investigating. I still firmly believe in innocent until proven guilty. I think that needs to be a factor. Prior to the show, we were talking about Justin Roiland and how in that case, people were quick. Again, people love the guy. They tuned into Rick and Morty. I kind of fell out of it around season 3, but that's neither here nor there. And you see some similar stuff with Roiland. He was forced out of his game company. He also had all this kind of stemmed from a domestic thing. There were text messages that were flying around, but nobody was able to verify the text messages. I think with the Twitch whispers, I think that's a little bit different. I think the bigger story is what is Twitch sitting on. I do agree that there is, to Gothix's point, there is an element to this. Like if someone doesn't like somebody else and their views don't align, then yes, this could be a hit job. But I think in the case of Doc, it's like he admitted that he knew he was talking to a minor. He edited that, and he also has a history of infidelity. And I think that I don't agree with the demonetization in the sense that what is that going to do? Hitting people's bottom lines over allegations, things that aren't proven, doesn't help anybody at all. But I ultimately think that this does warrant an investigation. And I think that if you don't have a problem with, and call me a moral grandstander, unfollow me if you want, but if you don't have a problem with a 35-year-old man talking to a minor and he's got a history of infidelity, and there are, again, I think that trans cam girls evidence is pretty damning as well. Again, that I think that needs to be verified. But I think issue's twofold. Twitch needs to have accountability and Doc needs to have accountability, and they both need to clear their names, and that should be the biggest focus. If they can, if they're capable. And
can I
also
say one more thing too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, of course, Gothix.
No, the other thing I thought of too is I think there is something extremely, and I'm going to say this word, I hate using this word, problematic about not being good stewards of language. because it's in the same way we were talking about this earlier, how I'm like on this thing of looking at limited ingredients in my food and seeing that, oh wow, our food is loaded with a bunch of junk. And unfortunately, much of society, they don't respect language, and they bend words and twist them to try to articulate something that it's not actually being conveyed. So when Doc admitted that he had inappropriate conversations, the question should be, what do you mean by inappropriate? Because people will interpret that differently. And
Yes.
and then also, if we are going to say that Doc is the P word, we are essentially putting him on the same level that we would be if someone were to meet up with someone and actually engage in something physical. And I think that that's a big problem. So we have to be clear about what it is we're actually talking about and use the correct language instead of just using it because we're emotional or whatever we are tied to it. But that's the other thing that I'm seeing is I think there's a big slippery slope to that. And in the same way that people are applauding this guy getting banned, getting demonetized, it can very easily shift to start including other people that may have not even had a conversation with the minor, you know? So if there is no standard for these words, then these words can mean anything and change at any moment.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And we've seen that word thrown out a lot here.
Poor Jared comes to mind.
What Jared, you mean? Yeah.
Because those allegations were false, and I regret believing them at the time. And this is why you have to vet this stuff. And text messages can be faked. And like I said to you prior to the show, with the Roiland stuff, I saw in the chat, people are saying his name was on the Epstein list. I'm like, there's plenty of Epstein lists out there, and people will just put whoever they want on those lists. And Roiland, I don't even believe was popular at the time. He was just a creator. I followed him since the inception of his career when he was on Channel 101. I think people really need to do their homework and check things out, because we saw stuff, I guess we'll get to that next, where you have to do your due diligence and fact check things. You can easily fake text messages. I showed it when I was on the Ricky Berwick group, and people were calling me. Someone messaged my wife saying I support grooming, because I said, hey, let's wait for Roiland to be proven innocent before declaring him guilty. I'm sorry, let's wait for him to be proven guilty, but he's innocent until then, and we need actual firm evidence to come out.
Right.
And to clarify, I'm only skeptical of Doc because of his previous behavior and the nature of how this was discovered.
Right.
But I'm not making any definitive statements. But my bigger problem is the people that don't think it's creepy for a 35-year-old man to be messaging a 17-year-old. I think that's wrong. I will die on that hill.
He's lost a number of sponsors. He lost his headset sponsor. He's been dropped obviously on Twitch several years ago, and YouTube has now fully demonetized his YouTube due to the current situation. So YouTube, right now he has no way to monetize on Twitch. He has no way to monetize on YouTube. Really, he has two other main options, which is, three really, Rumble, Kick, or create his own platform, which, because he did say he's going to come back. He is going to come back. So we'll kind of see what the response is there. You did mention the other rumors associated with this Extrazero, the idea of like the trans sex worker and stuff like that. Yeah. And there was some stuff we haven't really talked about that because none of that's really been vetted.
Right, and that's my point. Is it needs to be vetted. All of it needs to be vetted.
Right. And some people's argument would be like, well, you're talking about this other stuff from Rolling Stone. What's different than that than this person just claiming this on X? I would like to think that Rolling Stone and this journalist, that's what they're paid to do, is to do a little research on things as opposed to just somebody posting something about something on X. Right. Speaking of, there was rumors yesterday of Dr. Disrespect being arrested, and that came out, and I think it's worth talking about that because Destin, who has been on the show, good friend, long time, works over at IGN, says on the rumored Dr. Disrespect arrest, obviously take it with a grain of salt, but I can confirm the Nextdoor post is real and still up. The group claims that there was an arrest that took place at his residence around 9:45, and that would have been yesterday, 9:45 a.m. However, his name does not appear in the San Diego, SDC database. Dispatch cannot give details about the event. But when I called, they seemed to acknowledge that an event took place this morning. The group also mentions the time the home was shot at, a reference to an event that took place in 2018. So here's this, and yeah, this is from this next door group. And to further this home, I had Extrazero do a little digging this morning. I did a little extra digging this morning, and we could not find any reference to Guy Beam or any other Beam being arrested. And so like that can't be confirmed either. But this is just based off of this is how things started. This is how things started. You hear Dr. Disrespect was arrested. Oh my gosh. And it's like,
and to clarify one thing too, we know his actual legal name. It's out there. We're not going to say it here, but we search for both.
Right. I will say this. Melanie Mack had a tweet pop off, and I did want to highlight this. And we talked about this being a larger issue with Twitch as a whole. And she said this, and Gothix, you may agree with this, you may not. We'll see how you feel about this. She says, in light of this Dr. Disrespect stuff, just remember that women are very deliberately streaming sexual content that Twitch even puts on the front page sometime, visible to minors. Shut it all down. I see you shaking your head, Gothix. Fire away.
100%. Are you kidding me? That's the other part of it. It's if you're going to take a moral stance, then be intellectually consistent with what it is you're applying moral judgments to. If you're saying that a child cannot consent to inappropriate messages with an adult, then surely you think that it's inappropriate for a child to consume inappropriate videos and other forms of media. And that's exactly what it is. Like if I go on Twitch, I'll see booty cheeks galore. And this is a platform that's available and open to ages 13 and up. And no one seems to bat an eye about it. Like when I made a post on Twitter about my take on this whole doc thing, I literally had someone in the chat, in the comments, say that as a sex worker, I think what Dr. Disrespect did was wrong. And I'm like, think about that for a second. You're putting content out on the internet, which means that random people, even children, can consume that content. So how are you any different? Like on a moral level, I'm not understanding this. And I completely agree with Melanie. It's shut the whole thing down. That is not the Twitch that I signed up for years ago when I started on there. I don't know what it is. It's just, it's a mess.
Yeah, right, 100%. Oh, sorry, I'm actually scrolling through the Twitch just chat. We did this yesterday, but if you just scroll down the Twitch IRL streams, you're going to find girls with their, everything popping out, and it's a funnel system. And this goes back to, and we've discussed this several times this week, the idea that the issue here is that Twitch doesn't want these chat logs released at all. That'd be the worst thing that happened, because then it sets precedent that other chat logs have to be released. And as we said earlier in the show, there's all sorts of bad things that are happening on Twitch literally right now, whether it's through a whisper system or a private messaging system or whatever it is. Hey, contact me for this. And a lot of that is coming from women as well. These women who they're trying to drive people to their OF pages and everything associated right there, man. It's a mess. It is a mess. And it is something that will continue to be a story, unfortunately. Yeah, because apparently there's more that's going to come out with Doc. And you wish this would all just kind of like, he's at this point, he's lost his contract with Twitch. He's lost all his way to monetize on YouTube. He's lost his sponsorships with his, Turtle Beach or whatever it was, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if you can lose much more, professionally in a situation like this. And keep in mind, once again, I think, yes, Doc came out and had the statement. And my thought is that when you see somebody say something about, what they did, you probably should believe them in a situation like this, but yes, there's a much larger issue here. And I think the issue is Twitch and just online safety as a whole. It's if there's one thing I think we can all agree on, the whole situation is a mess.
I mean, Oliver Martin brings up a good point. He could lose custody of his children if this is proven. His wife could leave him. He could just be on his own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right.
So that's the last bastion of what he has to lose. I mean, I think, when we were talking about this morning, I think that the police showing up, it might have been questioning, because that's not going to be an arrest. They may have just willingly said, "Hey, we want to ask you something."
Yeah, maybe that's the case. If something did happen at his residence, maybe it has nothing to do with this. Maybe this is all going down, and he got, he was. I don't even want to speculate, but right. I mean, that's the thing, is maybe he just got upset, and somebody was. Who knows? We don't even know if police were there. This is all based off of a conversation on an app that may or may not have happened. Once again, things are easy to fake online. All right, one last thing here. This is Doc adjacent. We've talked about Nick Mercs several times this week. He's been known as one of Doc's boys, right? Who had played with him, Tim the Tap Man. They had their Call of Duty crew that they went out. Nick Mercs went out and said, "Hey, let's just wait and see. And then after he's like, "Okay, I'm good. I saw what I need to see. I'm out." Right. And but he has since been banned on X. Banned on Twitch when talking about this situation, specifically this Doc stuff, for using one word that is actually a carp part, which I'm not going to repeat because I don't want to be banned on YouTube. It says banned for using that word on Twitch. It says apparently that's a derogatory term. That's on me. Next time I'll use mental health disorder. So that's kind of the next thing here is the ongoing rumor is that as Gothix, you said, these guys, they don't exactly go along with the narrative when it comes to mainstream media, and they're kind of being taken out one by one.
With Pro Jared definitely did. And Royland was a non-political guy. So I don't think it has anything to do with the narrative when it comes to this stuff per se.
Well, I'm not too familiar with the whole Pro Jared thing, but wasn't that classified in like a whole Me Too narrative?
Basically, they had kind of a polyamorous arrangement, and his now ex-wife Heidi wasn't getting her way, and she made it public, but both of them aligned with very far left ideals.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, like I said, moral inconsistency, but not even that. This is why language is so important. Yeah. Because when he says, "I've been banned for using this word," I'm assuming they're banning him for hate speech. What do you mean by hate? Like, these arbitrary terms can always change. So we have to be clear about what it is we're talking about. And yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And this is why I choose to extend grace to other people, because they may feel a certain type of way about, Doc, but I assure you that most of these big streamers at some point are going to be put in a position where they're going to be villainized for something that they did or said, and they're going to wish that they had a little bit more grace around them. But that's just me.
I hear that. I totally hear that. For sure. All right, you guys have been great today. Appreciate everybody allowing us to have these conversations and talk about it. Do us a favor, if you wouldn't mind, hit the thumbs up button while you guys are tuning in over here on YouTube. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. We'd love for you guys to join us. You guys watching over on Twitch, hit the we're not on Twitch. If you guys are watching over on X, do us a favor, hit the retweet button or a like. We'd really appreciate that. Help spread the show. Let's get to some of your support today. Let's start over here on Rumble real quick. Sivers says, just want to give everyone a heads up. The Liberty Constitution lover, Congressman Thomas Massey, lost his wife today.
Oh, no.
Unfortunate. Never like to see anybody pass. Dude says, Side Scroll is getting a little extra today. Thank you, dude. Jared says, I agree with Flawed that the PS2 is the GOAT. Started playing Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 2 recently. Extrazero over Mazza any day.
Mazza's good people. I'm going to say it on the record.
Jared says, it was way more fun watching X-Ray Girl. It was way more fun watching X-Ray Girl, Wicked, and Blab stream the debate last night. What were you guys' thoughts on the debate?
You got the morals of an alley cat.
he's gonna Biden's gonna get replaced. That performance.
Oh, totally.
Now, did you guys see? Yeah, again, I don't want to steer it to politics, but Cenk Uygur, did you see his response to it? If you haven't, go. It's a minute long, but just I've seen so many people that were actually. I have to give Cenk credit because he's been straying away. Anna definitely has. I don't regularly watch the Young Turks, but when I do watch them, I watch them in context. And I just seeing so many people between Cenk and Bill Maher and even the media talk, the talking heads on the media, just kind of even like Joy Reid, just feeling like admitting defeat here. I think they're going to replace him.
I personally think I'm a little bit cynical about these people. I don't think they're admitting defeat. I think they're following the script. I think this debate was a setup to make a swap because very rarely do you go on CNN and you hear everyone in lockstep with everyone else's opinions, finally admitting their eyes have been opened to what everyone's been talking about.
Yeah.
No, this was a setup.
Well, yeah, and another thing too, I watch a lot of Valuetainment. If you don't watch those guys, yeah, great conversations over there. And Vinny and Adam and Tom constantly bring up the Vegas betting odds, and when it comes to politics, the Vegas betting odds are a good litmus. And just the odds of Biden being replaced have been high for a long time.
I will say this. I watched the first 30 minutes of it, and I had my daughter, my 10-year-old daughter, and she goes, "What are you watching?" I was like, "Well, I'm watching President Biden and President Trump have a debate." And my 10-year-old daughter, when President Biden was speaking, said, "How old is he?" And then she said, "I feel sorry for him."
Wow.
That's with no prompt from me. That's just her own observations. Mm-hmm. And I think that, a child's innocence and their honesty really shines through in this situation. If you're really honest about the situation, I don't know how you can look at that and be like, yeah, that was a good showing for the good old USA last night. Yeah.
It was I would rate it as like an 8 for entertainment value strictly. Aside from that, it's very sad. Like Biden shouldn't be up there at all. But like these people, to them, the ends justify the means, so it doesn't matter. But
it was amazing to see. I mean, I watched several people's reactions to it afterwards. I watched Jeremy talk about it. D-Day Cobra, he had like 10,000 people watching him react to it, and good for him. And it was more than anything, just like the doctor disrespect situation. I'm just kind of disappointed and sad. Really, the whole thing is just disappointing and sad. Everything about it, it's nuts. So there you go, Jared. He said a couple of games I personally would like to see brought back are the Transformers Cybertron games, Disney Extreme Skate Adventure. I don't know if you get Disney Extreme Skate Adventure has a huge market.
Cybertron games should be coming back. Microsoft's working with Activision, and Hasbro actually has an active toy line. They have the Studio series, and they have the Gamerverse stuff, and they've been going hard in the paint, to borrow a line from my buddy Nasmer, that they are putting these back into the eye of customers. So I think that we will see remasters of those games in the near future.
B. Barrett says Doc has taken his time off to take care of some minor issues. Thanks, B. Barrett. CG Hero says, Craig, I'll wait until I would wait to see on Beverly Hills Cop 4. Midnight Edge says he knows someone who saw it early, and he said the daughter is the main star, and the trailer versus the movie are very different. Oh, that's interesting. Well, it is free. It's on Netflix. I guess not free. You're still paying for Netflix. CG Hero followed up, says, on the subject of movies, when's the next time you're going to go do a watch party on Locals? Good question. I'm going to get something planned for July for sure. And I think it's going to be UHF. One of my favorite old school movies. Pokelda came in and says, "Hey Craig, are you going to use the let us t-shirt payment to teach your daughter about taxes?" Great inoculation against the abnormal people, besides having an awesome dad. Yeah, of course. we've already had the taxes conversation and all that for sure. Rimdog says Melanie has a good perspective on everything, how Twitch promotes e-girls selling their wares to over enthusiastic boys, and the cover-ups ensue. You are correct. Thank you, Rimdog. Kratos came in with a massive $50 direct donation. Thank you so much, Kratos. Says, this is to fund the purchase of materials for you to eat a spoonful of the every sauce, just like the cheesa. You need to take on this creation. If it's deemed appropriate for normal men, we shall call it normal man sauce. Gross. Every sauce for the every man. Disgusting, Kratos. Hey, Gothix, you get to pick a color for what's going on the wall. What are we going with?
Ooh, let's get that green up there.
All right, green it is. Sounds good. This is my last green. We're gonna have to go to another color after this. Kratos, thank you very much for your support today, buddy. That is muchly appreciated, and you are the big pickle, my friend. Mercenary also picked up the American Pride T-shirt. Says, gonna get my third shirt because my I might as well stick to it this month. Thank you very much, Mercenary. Picking up 3 of those American Pride shirts. Also, Vescarbino came in and gifted 10 gifted memberships to the channel. That is spectacular. Thank you very much for that wonderful generosity. If you guys got a gifted membership, make sure you guys say thank you. Consider paying it forward. Scooby says, the debate is not over until we have that golf game. Yeah, I didn't really see the whole, I saw kind of clips of that. What was the deal with the golf game?
It's just so stupid. They were just insulting each other's golf game. No, you don't. I forgot what the line was exactly. I've seen you swing. Like, it's just so stupid.
So they're on stage talking about golf?
Yes, yes. That's how petty both of them are.
I'm the greatest golfer. The best, simply the best. You can't do it, Sleepy Joe. I just take it to the links.
It's so good.
Spectacular.
My favorite line though was when they asked Trump about climate change. He says, we want the cleanest water. When I was in office, we had H2O. And I'm like, what do you mean you had H2O? Like,
oh my God. Our country is amazing. Just everything about our country is amazing. It's just spectacular. Golly. That's why I'm moving. Shane came in with the $50 Rumble rant. Says, hey Craig, I wanted to share with you that my wife and I went to New Orleans and were able to go to the World War II Museum. It was a very humbling experience. I wore my American Pride shirt while there. Hey, Shane, that is spectacular. Good on you, and thank you very much for your excellent support. And Wheeling Through Life with Brian came in and says, Congress and the president need an age limit. Congress needs a term limit as well. Gothix, you got any thoughts on that?
term limit, age limit?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think if they're competent, I don't really care how old they are. I would prefer someone is older than younger, because there's a higher, in my opinion, I think there would be a higher likelihood of someone being propagandized when they're younger, because if you teach someone when they're young, they'll take those ideas, into office. But I also want them to be able to hold a coherent sentence. So there is a balance there. As far as term limits, I think so. Yes. I don't know what those are, but yes.
There's a lot of things. Like, I think we have a pretty good system, but it's still broken, mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things that could absolutely be fixed with age limit restrictions and term limits and stuff. But ultimately, it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It always goes, what are we doing here? Alex came in as a member for 3 months. Says, I still think the first Spider-Man 2 game is the best. I'm the only one that had street/stoplights catch. It was the only one that had the street stoplight catch if you web swinged under them. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate that. Nathan came in and says, remember to make your trolls angry trolls. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that, Nathan. Robin Will says a drag queen will be playing the child catcher in the touring production of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in the UK. I'm horrified. Wow. Okay. Superman says, I'd be happy to join you in the hot sauce contest. I do warn you, though, I have a very high tolerance. I think I'll be able to make it through. I do. We'll see. Kyler says, this is for the UK. Notice it says chip sauce. That's speaking of the every sauce for sure. And it did say chip, but I wasn't sure if it was they're speaking of like French fries or whatever. But Anzac came in with it, said, howdy, y'all. Hello. Toma came in and says, I remember that if you pre-ordered Fortnite, it came with 4 keys. This was back when it was a zombie game. Oh, is that right, Toma? Thank you for the
tower defense zombie game.
Yes, it was. Mr. Hardcore Mode says, it'll flop. Gaming is male dominated, and even women like attractive characters. Overwatch tired people out on hero shooters, and if the character sounds annoying, they will get dunked on. Gameplay in Destiny 2 on wish.com. Thank you, Mr. Hardcore. Speaking of the Concord game right there. Are you tired, Gothix, of the hero shooter? You said you played Overwatch earlier.
Because I'm a simpleton. I'm a simpleton, and I don't like spending money on games I'm gonna potentially hate. So I just like grindy games. Find one and play the hell out of it until I'm bored, and then I'll switch to something else. So, and I'm okay with that. I'm easily amused. But hero shooters in general, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm tired of it. There's that new one that's coming out, is the Marvel one. I'm interested in that.
Yeah. And that's free to play.
Yeah, I'd play that.
Yeah. Dwight came in and says they could have picked a better name than Concord. A lot of people will assume it's a flight simulator when they heard that name. I agree. I 100% agree.
Grape.
Hey, I thought of grape juice first. I was like, man, it's been a minute since I had some Welch's.
Lord J says his Tractor Supply isn't lying through their teeth. This is a huge win and possible sign of a swing back towards common sense. Normal men stay winning. Thanks, Lord J. Appreciate that. A feline named Vijay says CEO who was behind the initiative needs to go. Speaking of the Tractor Supply story, Peter says Craig should change Kotaku's name to Screw Attack as editor-in-chief. I don't own the rights to Screw Attack anymore, and even if I wanted to, I don't think it'd be possible to change it back. I need to buy it back. Stay at Home Hippo says the intention is on Doc when Twitch kept this under wraps. An ex-Twitch employee was trying to profit all this for years, for a year and more, and there are most likely others being allowed to continue. Yeah, for sure. There's a lot there, and nobody, like 0 people, look good in this story. At no point, like journalists don't look good, Twitch doesn't look good, Doc doesn't look good. I don't see anybody in the story being like, yeah, okay, that person looks okay out of this. Thanks, Stay at Home Hippo, for that. Dean says, if you need to paint a picture, just look at the reaction from Doc's friends. Their statements speak more than logic speculation. Thanks, Dean. Hypnotic and Raptor says, hire VTuber gamers for the job. VTubing is a multi-billion-dollar business. They have 1 in 10,000 viewers per stream. 1 to 10,000 viewers per stream, and they are wholesome. Thanks, Hypnotic. Taki says, a mid-30s man creeping on a 17-year-old shouldn't be acceptable in any society. It's all about love, Taki. Hell came in and says, do we know what he said? People are taking like it was reprehensible, but if it was criminal, then isn't the bigger story Twitch covering it up? No, we don't. And we're not going to know what he said, and there will be lots of speculation behind it, which we're not going to do because there's so much gray area. We talked about this yesterday, the idea, or over the past week, that, Gothix, did you see the Hawktua girl that was so viral?
Yes.
Okay. Like, it's one, okay, like that's a meme and that was shared online, right? But it was a very sexual meme, right? At its core, right? So like, let's just say in this instance, Doc shared that meme with this minor, right? Is that deemed inappropriate? Because
this is exactly why I ask, are we asking, what do you mean by inappropriate?
Right.
Even if someone says, even if him admitting, yes, I did inappropriate or had inappropriate messages, that could also just be him trying to admit what he did and just to maybe get the heat off of him, which I don't think he actually believes the heat's going to go away. Like, because from my perspective, the people who are upset with him aren't going to be satisfied. We'll be talking about this 5 years from now.
I agree. He will always have an X on him. He'll always have that scarlet letter for some people, and they'll never be able to accept whatever happens, whether he's, cleared or whatever. The fact that, and even if he came back with another statement that was as clear and concise as possible. That said, and with proof, and that there will still be people who feel a certain way, one way or the other about them. You know, that is the internet. Dean came in and says Doc brought a camera in a bathroom during E3 and recorded several people using the urinal from behind while he was in character. One was a kid. He's always been always had a creepy factor. You know, I don't think that. Do you recall that story, Gothix, when that happened? He was at E3 and he.
I do remember that, and my position on that is okay. Yeah, that's bad. Maybe it was a lapse of judgment. He didn't think that there was going to be a kid at the urinal, or maybe he didn't think that he would be recording people like that. I don't know. Maybe it was a lapse of judgment. But again, moral consistency here, because I'm pretty sure isn't Twitch the platform that supports like the trans stuff and the notion that men can go into women's bathrooms anyway. So what exactly is the argument, you know?
Right. I agree. I think it was a lack of judgment. I don't think there was anything malicious behind it. Now, was it against the law in California? Yeah.
At the time, but
yeah.
now, you know, these laws are changing.
Right.
So
I think he was just trying to be funny. And I think that he just made a mistake in that situation. I mean, let's use a little common sense in this situation. Like, I don't think it was like, let's go in and find it and look at the man's pee-pees.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it was.
Yeah. Stream Hero came in and says the age was never confirmed. So where are people? People asked.
He said it was a minor.
Right. But people are saying it's 17. Could be 16. Could have been 12.
Yeah.
Could have been 9 months old. You know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, hopefully a 9-month-old isn't on Twitch.
Isn't texting Dr. Disrespect.
I mean, kids got tablets these days. I don't know.
West Dog says anyone who denounces Doc and cut ties them that's still streaming on Twitch is a flaming hypocrite. Looking at Shroud, Nick, Pokey, etc. Crit Nature says he needs to abandon the character Dr. Disrespect and just be Guy Beam if he ever comes back. The only way to redeem himself, in my opinion. Show the people that you've changed. The only way, in my opinion. It's an interesting take, for sure. For sure. Bork says, Craig, I see a Twitch streamer. She got banned 10 times and unbanned in one day. I mean, you've seen, I think there was a Twitch streamer who literally had sex on stream and she got like 3 days. You know, like, I don't even know how that happens. If there wasn't hypocrisy on Twitch, there would be, what's the old saying? If there wasn't
double standards, there'd be none.
Right. There'd be no standard at all. Right. Matthew says, I want to hear DSP's opinion on the whole thing. Snort. I don't want to talk to Panda Lee until she was 18. Okay. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate that. Black and Mild says, I think the Silent Hill 2 remake is overrated. I would have much rather have seen a Silent Hill 1 remake. Thank you so much.
Silent Hill 1 was remade on the Wii, mind you.
I'm the Icarus says Normal Man Sauce is the name of our next record. Disgusting. Almond John says, I've only seen UHF one time. Unfortunately, it was with Nick Rekieta's watch party. Yeeks. And Snapple Rai says, I haven't showed my support in a while on here. So here you go. Just want to say I appreciate your content and enjoy the guests you bring on. Well, appreciate that, Snapple Rai. Thank you so much for your ridiculous $50 super chat. Yes, Gothix is phenomenal. Thank you very much for joining us today. Gothix has been excellent. Extrazero, thank you for picking up the American Pride t-shirt. It says hopefully I'll get it before the 4th. Yeah, it's awesome. Appreciate that. Once again, a quick reminder for you guys tuning in. Make sure you guys go and pick up your American Pride t-shirt. Go pick it up so it can possibly be to your at your residence before July 4th. You can wear it on the day. I can't wait for all the pictures on X for people showing us their American Pride t-shirt for July 4th. It'll be great. Gothix, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Gothix TV. I'm also on Rumble. I'm trying to grow my following there, so please follow my Rumble channel, pretty please.
Okay, let's go find you over on Rumble real quick. Hold on, I want to make sure we find you over there. Is it just rumble.com/Gothix?
Yes, sir.
Oh, there's 2 Gothix channels. There's 2 of them.
Ew, it could just be me just being technology illiterate.
Which one is it? Which one is it over here? I need to know.
The first one.
This one? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
The lighter green background. Go over
Yeah,
there and hit
that's
the follow
me.
button. There you go. There you go. Right there. Bam. Hit that follow button right there. All right. You guys can find Gothix over there. Hey, Gothix, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having
Awesome.
me.
Extrazero, great job filling in for Blabs
Thank you.
today. She's taking a personal day. Always a pleasure to have her, everybody. Thank you guys very much for your support, allowing us to do this show on a day-to-day basis, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Central Time. I want you guys to have a spectacular weekend and finish your Pride Month up in it with a best weekend. Just have the best weekend possible. Appreciate everybody popping in. I will not be live over on the Side Scrollers Plays channel this afternoon because honestly, I'm just ready to disconnect from the internet. That's why I'm ready to go touch some grass for the weekend and enjoy the weekend. With that said, you guys have a great rest of your day. And remember, people are going to try to keep you down. Don't let them. You guys got to go get it. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye-bye.